All right, guys. Well, happy Monday. Hope each one of you had a good weekend. No, I did.
13.
Yeah.
13. Why is it 13?
It should
15
be.
now.
It should be 15. You are,
Yeah.
you guys, man, you're on me even before we start. Thank you.
Did we redo that?
You see, I even have it 15 on here too.
I'm just making sure you're all alert.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
That's right.
Okay.
You got a drink that's right.
Oh yes, I totally meant to do that. Just make sure you guys are aware. Yeah, definitely, Ruben. Yeah. Yeah. So today,
Extinction.
so today we're going to be covering extinction. This is going to be one of the other behavioral reduction strategies, or this is more or less a procedure as it relates to behavior change. Last week we were looking at the antecedent strategies, those that involved motivating operations, and ones that have involved high probability requests, and of course NCR and functional communication training. So we'll be going down that same route to look at the other options available when it comes to intervening on problem behavior. So to start things off, we're going to be talking about what is extinction. Extinction is simply when
Discontinue.
reinforcement is discontinued for a behavior that has otherwise been reinforced in the past. And this does one particular thing that we're more or less interested in. It decreases the occurrence of the behavior occurring again. So this is just simply discontinuing the behavior. So what happens? The behavior no longer works. Because it's not no longer getting the reinforcement or the payoff, the individual eventually stops doing it. And it's very easy to confuse extinction with punishment, because that punishment does a very similar thing. Punishment reduces likelihood of behavior occurring again in the future. However, punishment involves either introducing or taking away something, whereas extinction, again, is simply the discontinuation of reinforcement. You guys remember this diagram? The one I worked very hard on?
Yes.
So,
ABC.
yes, the ABCs. This is essentially what happens when we implement extinction. Bam. No more consequence. The behavior no longer gets the reinforcement it looks for.
No more consequence.
Yes, no more consequence. That consequence that the individual is doing no longer occurs. Now, when we are implementing extinction, we have to base it on the function. I see a lot of parallels and similarities between extinction and non-contingent reinforcement, NCR, both of which need the function present in order to implement the procedure. So if you guys remember from last week, if we implement NCR for attention, that means we have to give the individual more attention, so then it acts as an abolishing operation, leading to them getting satiated, and they no longer need to engage in problem behavior in order to get attention. Now, imagine if instead we provide tangibles, edibles, preferred items that doesn't address the issue of attention if that is the function. Likewise, with extinction, we need the function in order to implement it properly. And as in the case with NCR, it's going to look very different with each one of the various functions. So let's take a look at them. Extinction for attention is going to be very simple, yes. Withholding that attention. So not looking at the individual, not responding to them, even if they keep calling out your name, you're not going to respond. So let's take a look at what that may look like. And I'm sure it's something we've all experienced.
Do you want yellow ones? Yeah. Nice job. All right, keep playing with blocks. Here you go. You can have more blocks.
attention seeking.
Mm-hmm.
A client is asking for attention.
I'm sure we've all been there pretending to write something or do something
Yeah.
to show that we're not interested. So you see, even if when the individual is engaging in SIB, there's just minimal blockage without responding to them or having to say anything. Hey, don't do that. Don't hurt yourself.
So, hi Dora! Are you done playing with blocks? Or do you want to play more?
Play more.
Alright, let's play more. Oh, here comes Rudolph! Rudolph the Red-Nosed. Who are you?
Not this one. At least not yet. So you guys saw even. Yeah. I hit the gold mine when I found that channel. Yes, they are Filipino.
No?
Not only were they not children, but yeah, they're Filipino. So yeah, as you guys could see, even when she prompted the correct functional response to getting attention, the tapping on the shoulder, she wasn't talking to her as she was doing it. She simply did it, just gently, fixedly guided it, and that led to her immediately giving her that attention. So now the client recognizes that there is a contingency between tapping on the shoulder and receiving attention, which is ultimately what she wanted. You see, even when she had those toys in the box, she was still looking for that attention. So understanding the function was key there. Well, now let's take a look at it with tangibles. Very similar. Instead of withholding attention, you're withholding the item in question. And yes, from the same channel. So this is in essence, words for aggression instead of SID.
Nice. Spinny. Wow, spin. Okay, in 5 seconds, it's going to be my turn with Tom. 3, 2, 1. It's my turn.
See, she doesn't want to really push it.
All right. Do it.
See, the aggression is not leading to the item. Oh, yes, she's putting it away now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, looks like she's no longer engaging in the aggression.
All right. Nice calming down, Dora. Okay, could you sit up? Nice. Let's take a deep breath. Ready? All right. Can you count down? 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Your turn. 3. Nice. All right. Let's go down to our end.
Oh, it ended.
Ooh, look what I have here.
Oh,
That's on top. Let's wait for top. Boing. What do you want? Nice. Here you go.
As you guys can see, the aggression did not lead to the acquisition of the spinning top. And you saw she gave her a long delay for her to calm down, just so then there is an association between any instance of aggression with getting access to the tangible, in this case, the top. And then she prompted the functional communicative response, asking for the top. Yeah, kind of including a lot of space in between an instance of problem behavior and the acquisition of the item. It's very important, as you guys could see that playing out, how even if there was a little bit less of a delay, the client may have associated, oh, if I just acted a little bit more aggressively, I could have gotten what I wanted. And yeah, now looking at the other two functions, we have that of escape. Escape extinction entails not letting the person get out of the task. So let's take a look at how that might play out.
Who are you? No. Do you want ball? All right, we can play with ball.
I want ball and blocks.
Oh, okay, we can play with ball and blocks later. First, we're gonna color in the triangles. Here you go.
So she's helping her prompt it.
Nice coloring it in. Wow, coloring the triangles. Coloring. Good coloring. Wow. Nice job. All done. Yes. Good job coloring in the triangles. Now what did you get? Nose and blocks. Woohoo! Here you go.
Man, payday. And lastly, we're going to look at what it looks like for automatic extinction. So this is masking and removing the sensory component of the SID. I believe it is the SID.
Ooh, spinning. It's the top. Okay, it's gonna be my turn for 3 seconds, okay? 3, 2, 1. It's my turn. Nice job. Do you want more top, Dora? All right. You can have more top later, okay? First, we're gonna do puzzle, and then you can have more top.
So you see here, she's trying to get some visual stim.
Nice job finishing your puzzle. Here you go. You can have top.
Okay. Yeah, so that's essentially how each one of the extinction procedures plays out. I get into a little bit more later, but for escape, since clients do have the right to say no and all, it's mainly going to be in the form of stimulus fading, or demand fading that we were looking at last week. So just putting that on your guys' radar. Okay, a very important distinction we have to make between extinction and response blocking. Response blocking is more of an antecedent approach where we're stopping the consequence from occurring. If we use the example from the video, the individual, if we were to put, let's say, some glasses over her eyes to prevent the visual stim from occurring, that would be more of a response block than the extinction procedure, which is when we kind of intervened at that moment. It's the same idea when you introduce the safety helmets and the pads for individuals who engage in SIV, with the function being automatic. So those are the main important distinctions we got to make between response blocking and extinction, because they are very easy to get it confused. Any questions so far? Okay. So you guys can see extinction is very effective in preventing future rates of behavior from occurring, although it is not a panacea and should not be used in every instance all the time. There are two instances where we do not use it at all. One, if it's incredibly severe, I would say moderate to severe problem behavior. That is when extinction should not even be in the question. We saw just very mild instances of problem behavior that the client in the video demonstrated, but you can only imagine what if she was just far more aggressive. Instead of just trying to lightly slap her, she tried to lunge at her. That would not be an instance where extinction may be one of the options. And there was one time at one of the care homes I see, they were telling me that one of the previous behavior consultants who came to the home was running a functional analysis to see what the function of this client behavior was. She had severe SIB, so she would hit her head to the point where you could see incredibly red bruising. She would even scratch herself to the point where she would start bleeding. And the consultant stepped into her room, which already was a red flag. Nobody is allowed to go into her room unless she approves of it. And she just stood there, and the client kept engaging in the SIB. And at that point, it became very evident that it is for escape. Oh, I do not want you here. You're not welcomed. But she dug her heels in, and she stayed in the room until the admin of the home said, "All right, you gotta go out." In that particular instance, you could see that extinction is not the way to go, because you can only see what would happen much later on. Oh, you want to escape my presence? Well, you're just going to have to engage in more SIB in order to somehow get there. But that is not something we should ever do. Mm-hmm. And if reinforcement is derived from other sources other than us implementing it, then it can be very difficult to control. We're going to be looking at bootleg reinforcement, for a funny term, to see where all these other confounding variables that we have to take into account if we are going to implement extinction successfully. So those are the two instances that you do not use extinction. And extinction also has some costs that you have to be aware of if it's not implemented properly. So for one thing, the big one is an extinction burst. This is a momentary increase in the intensity, the duration, the frequency of a behavior shortly after it's been placed on extinction. And I think this is pretty easy to visualize. You can imagine yourself going up to a vending machine and then putting a dollar to get a drink. Well, what's the first thing you start doing when the machine doesn't give you your drink?
Shake it back.
Yes, exactly, because it's not doing what it's supposed to do. So then you engage in much more, I guess you could say, intense behaviors to get it. So let me show you guys an example of this. Again, something that may not be not unfamiliar to us.
Sure, but this is the last one, okay?
She asked for a cookie.
Extinction occurs when we withhold reinforcement for a previously reinforced behavior. Extinction burst is the initial increase in response frequency.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Yeah. Where is she taking that chair? I don't know, but
Hello.
that is the example of extinction burst. As you guys saw there too, there was also induced aggression. So the individual became much more frustrated than likely to engage in more severe instances of aggression, even if they themselves aren't typically that aggressive. That is the effect that extinction can bring. And then something else too, something called behavior contrast. This is where in one setting, extinction may decrease, but because that individual is no longer getting access to reinforcement in that setting, that acts as an establishing operation to get it from an area or a setting where they are still able to access that reinforcement. So, in other words, if they're not getting reinforcement from, let's say, here, they're asking for soda, for instance, and they're not getting it here, the likelihood of them asking them at their care home is going to be much more frequent because that place still has a history of getting reinforcement. And then another notable one too is other individuals imitating the extinction bursts or the instances of aggression. Although I think from what I've noticed with our clients, they tend to try to butt in and interfere and say, oh, hey, don't do that, or kind of just step in when they may not be helpful. Yes, I heard the name. That was the exact individual I was thinking of. Okay, and when it comes to the extinction burst, it's usually short-lived. If the extinction procedure is implemented properly, then that short burst of aggression or SIB or all those should go down. However, because behavior is complex and incredibly interesting, there are long-term effects that could play out. So, for instance, spontaneous recovery. This is where a previously extinguished behavior all of a sudden shows up again. And this could be for a number of reasons. One, that it could be due to a behavior that serves that same function, either getting a momentary instance where it's not reinforced or it actually gets extinguished itself. A good example of this would be you're teaching a client to make proper requests. Previously, they were engaging in aggression to get what they want, but now they're using their functional communicative response much more readily. Now, what happens if that response is ignored or wasn't heard for a moment and they're still developing it? They're just going to go right back into the aggression. So those are some things to be wary of, and one of the important considerations when we take the client's learned history into account. And yeah, let's take a look at some ways that we would benefit from implementing extinction. Just like with NCR, you never want to utilize it as the sole intervention. Extinction is best used, and the research shows that if it's used in tandem with other approaches, such as DRA, which we're going to be looking at, I believe, on Wednesday, and FCT, and then the high P, low P requests, it becomes much more effective, and we tend to see a lot less of the severe consequences, such as the extinction burst and the resurgence. And the big thing, the biggest challenge when it comes to implementing extinction is if it even gets reinforced once, bam, you're in an intermittent schedule of reinforcement. And if you guys recall from a few weeks when we talked about it, it's almost as though it's the slot machine reinforcement schedule where an individual will just keep doing it. It's very resistant to change. And that also means that it becomes much more challenging to extinguish. And this is, I think, a useful way to think about it. If a behavior, let's say, is more of a mild to moderate level of severity, and the individual, or the behavior itself, rather, is placed on extinction, the individual is going to engage in an extinction burst, and it's going to become much higher in intensity, as we described. Now, what would happen if previously the behavior was in a more mild form, but now it gets reinforced when it's much more severe? What are we teaching the individual? Oh, hey, if I just hit that much harder, or if I throw an outburst for that much more longer of time, I get what I want. And again, because this is on a intermittent schedule reinforcement, it becomes incredibly resistant to change, and at that point, it will become very difficult to place on extinction again, because now the baseline for the severity has gone up. No longer are we looking at the more mild topography. Now it's going to be much higher, and we can expect there to be more severity. Yeah. Extinction bursts, they can be incredibly surprising. I mean, I've seen my fair share of instances where a behavior that typically has or is in the process of being extinguished goes much higher in intensity. And it pretty much requires everybody to be on the same page of what's going to be occurring. And I think we more or less do a pretty good job of giving everybody a heads up. Oh, hey, so-and-so got this. And we know that the function of their problem behavior is getting access to this item. So let's make sure that they're no longer getting it, and we can do everything we can to keep them nice and safe. And then the example I gave for detention would just be maintaining the neutral body and responses. Just like we saw in the video, there was no verbal response to when the individual was engaging in the attention-seeking behavior. And that's really what we got to maintain if we want extinction to be successful. Yeah, this is a difficult one, and we had to deal with this last week. Bootleg reinforcement. Bootleg reinforcement is simply the idea that an individual is deriving a reinforcer from outside the intervention. This might be so for instance, something that I had to deal with. A few weeks ago, we made a behavior contract for a client. He gets more. He's working for outings, and he is working with a care home manager to lose some weight. They're doing it together, so they're both following an exercise routine. They're both trying to watch what they eat. And the manager, he was telling me, yeah, I noticed I lost a few pounds. It wasn't just water weight, but the client, he hasn't lost any weight. And it's so strange because we know what we're feeding him. He's going on the exercises with me. So what could be going on? Sure enough, a few days later, the client comes home and he has chocolate smeared all over his face. So he was getting treats. He was getting bootleg reinforcement from his day program that would have remained unnamed. And when it comes to interventions in general, bootleg reinforcement is a huge thorn in everybody's side, but especially with extinction, because now the behavior is not being extinguished. By definition, they're still getting reinforcement for what they want to do. But when it comes to instances where somebody's doing something for attention, then we want their higher functioning peers to be aware of what it is they're doing and kind of teach them as to what would be the most appropriate way for them to respond to when their peers may be engaging in problem behavior. Okay, any questions before we get into this?
Oh. Questions?
Yes, I got the questions, but I got something else in mind before that.
Excuse me.
Yes,
So
Willie.
we are discussing about extinction.
Yes.
Means to say discontinue.
Mm-hmm. Discontinuous reinforcement, yes.
And reinforcement previously reinforced behavior, right? So extinction depends safe function and everything like this one. But again here, when are not we good? When not to use extinction?
Mhm.
How?
Yeah. So extinction can only be used, Willie, when it's appropriate. Just like we wouldn't use a token economy or token board or backwards chaining. It's just one of the very many options we have when it comes to developing a behavior intervention plan. When it comes to extinction, we do not want to implement it when the problem behavior is very severe.
Yes, this is because it's mentioned here.
Mhm.
If the behavior involves severe self-injury or aggression,
Yes.
then that puts other at risk.
Mhm.
Extinction alone is unsafe.
Yes.
So if you cannot stop the reinforcement from happening, extinction will fail.
Yes. So we don't use it in those circumstances. We turn to other options.
Okay,
instead.
can you give me a specific example how not to use extinction?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can
Of
you
course.
give a specific example
Yeah. No. Definitely.
from one of our client, most probably as an example?
Which client?
One of our clients,
Okay. Yeah.
You can do the
Let's
one
see.
that moved away, maybe.
huh?
The one
Okay.
who moved away.
Yeah.
Or maybe we can about Jonathan Oliver. Okay.
Well, what's his severe problem behavior?
Well, we tried to have there's a behavior for him
Mhm.
that he's injuring the leg and everything like that
Yeah.
by scratching,
Mhm.
by not these fingernails. No, most of the time he's scratching here in the back and everything with this the thing on his hand. You know what is in the hand? That's all wood.
Yeah. The Jenga blocks.
Yeah, Jenga box.
Mhm.
So how are we going to remove that one to remove that?
Yeah. 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 So in that
Are we going to
circumstance.
remove that material in his hand so that there will be no scratches on the body?
Yeah. So what would be the consequence if we were to remove or request for him to remove the Jenga blocks?
He doesn't like. He doesn't like to remove.
Yeah. So what kind of things does he do?
So just let it be that all of these that the blocks will be in his hand.
Mhm.
It should be the case then.
Well, it will depend on again the level of severity of because what he probably does is he finds some way to escape removing the item. But then the question then is how severe is the problem behavior after we try to remove it? Does he then start hurting himself even more?
Well, that we don't know because we don't even try to remove it because when I try to remove it, he will just resist it.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, so we would
Because but the
then.
thing is this, according to them,
Mhm.
that is the reason why he got a lot of scratches over here in the leg.
I see. Yeah, so in that circumstance, let's brainstorm a differential reinforcement procedure. See if we can find a way to reinforce him having those removed. Because I was thinking when we had his meeting that he does do a lot of more sensory things with the blocks. So it's in some sense not functional. He's not using the blocks to build Jenga, for instance, or play Jenga, for instance.
He's not playing it, just
Yeah.
holding.
Yeah, he's just holding it. Yeah, so that's a more of a non-functional use of it. So what if we try to reinforce him using it appropriately, building a Jenga tower, and then reinforce him playing with it? Again, in a way that is much more functional, as opposed to him just using it for sensory reasons.
So we cannot use that. We cannot
We'll,
discontinue
we'll,
that.
we'll come up with something for him, yeah. But if he is that resistant to it, then extinction may not be our best option for that.
Okay.
Yeah. Before we move on, any other clients that may come to mind that may be a little bit resistant to extinction? No, but yeah, great question, Billy. Though that is important to recognize. Okay, so the exercise I would like to do now is for us to identify what type of uh, function is at play here for the extinction. That they're using. Okay, is everyone ready?
Box of goodies. What do you want to work for today?
Plushie!
You like the plushie? All right. We are working for plushie today. So we have 3 things to do before you earn your plushie. First, you're going to color in the triangle, and then you're going to finish the maze, and then you will read a book for 1 minute.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Color in the triangle. Alright, let's try that again. Color in the triangle. Way to go! Alright, you got your first check. Next, finish the maze. Nice going. Look, you're 1 more step away from your Last, you're going to read a book for 1 minute. Way to go, Ray! You got your plushie! Very nice job.
All right, did you guys catch it? Did you guys notice what he did initially? That might tell us what the function of his SIB was. I think it's one of those where you blink and you missed it. So let's take another look here.
Plushie!
You like the plushie? All right. We are working for plushie today. So we have 3 things to do before you earn your plushie. First, you're going to color in the triangle, and then you're going to finish the maze, and then you will read a book for 1 minute.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. Color in the triangle.
So she presented the requests or the instruction, and then the SIB followed suit. So what is the likely function at play here? Let me ask this: what do you guys think he wants?
Escape.
Hmm?
Escape.
Yes, this is escape
Escape.
extinction. Yes, that's what she's implementing. Yeah, and usually the antecedent to an escape is the presentation of an undesired task, and that's exactly what we saw here. Okay. How about this one?
What are we gonna work for today?
Plushie.
Ooh, plushie.
Classic.
So fun. Alright, my turn first. Okay, so we're working for plushie. Before plushie, we're gonna do 3 things. Okay, we're gonna color in triangle. We're gonna do the maze. We're gonna read a book all by ourselves. Okay? So let's try the first one. Let's color in triangle. Great job, Nozomi. Way to go. Boop. All right, next one is maze. Maze. Great job. There you go. All right, last one is reading a book all by yourself. Okay, let's try. Remember, if you need my attention, you can say rain.
Rain, can we play?
Remember, Nozomi, we're working for plushie. So first, let's read all by ourselves for 1 minute, and then I'll play with you with plushie. Okay?
First, then contingency.
Great job, Nozomi. Good reading. Let's do plushie.
Okay. What was the function in that instance? Let's take a look at what she was doing once he got up and was no longer attending to her. So he stepped away, and she started engaging the SIB. What does that tell us? What is it that she wanted? Because a little bit later, he reminded her, "Oh, you're working for the plushie you're choosing." But that didn't seem to be what she had in mind as to what was reinforcing.
That's essential.
Uh, that it would not be sensory because even if he wasn't there, she would be engaging in the SIV. But good guess. Was there a instruction he gave her that immediately led to the SIV, like for the last clip? No. Okay. And it's not sensory, so that leaves us two more options.
Not escape.
That leaves us tangible and attention.
No. Involves withholding the item that is tangible.
Yes, but is the item? Does she want the item? Because again, here a little bit later, he reminded her what she's working
Read
for.
all by herself for 1 minute, and then I'll play with you with plushie. Okay?
Ah, look at that! I'll play with you with the plushie. So I think I heard it earlier. Attention, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because immediately as soon as he stepped away from her proximity, that is when she started engaging in the SID. Okay, good. We'll do. We have time for both of them.
What do you want to work for today?
Plushie!
Some fun! All right, Rain, my turn. 3, 2, 1, my turn. Rain, do you want to work for plushie?
Yes.
All right, look, I wrote down plushie right here for you. But look, we have to do 3 things. First, we're going to color in the triangle.
Okay, I think we may know what the function is by now. What is the function?
Not giving the item. Holding item. Tangible.
Tangible?
Yeah.
Everybody else agree with Willie? It's tangible? Yes, that is right. Okay, let's take a look at the last one.
All right, Nozomi, are you ready? What are we going to work for today? Oh! Okay, it's going to be my turn. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. My turn. Thank you. All right, Nozomi, before we get plushie, we're going to color in triangle. We're going to do a maze, and we're going to read a book all by ourselves for 1 minute. All right, so first, let's color in triangle. Let's color. Nice. Good job, Nozomi. Way to go. Color. All right, way to go. Now our next one is, let's do maze. Nice job, Nozomi. Awesome. Okay, now last one. Let's read Let's hold book. Turn page. Way to go. Good job. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job, Nozomi. All right. We are ready for plushie. Woo. Nice.
Oh,
Good
yeah, see it there.
job.
What's the function?
Function.
Jonathan saying sensory?
Yes.
Yes, good.
Sensory.
As you guys noticed, she was doing it throughout. And it didn't seem to be connected to the tasks being requested of her. It wasn't due to him withholding any form of attention. And even when she had the item she wanted, she was working for, she then engaged in the sensory play.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives us the sense that it is automatically reinforced. Good. All right. Now we're down to the questions. Review questions for Extinction. So first question, what is the primary definition for extinction?
Letter B. B.
A lot of B?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it is B. Discontinuing reinforcement for previously reinforced behavior. Simple as that. All right, 2. A client screams to get out of a domestic task. You are implementing escape extinction. What should you do?
Escape. Then just let us see.
Let us see.
Continue. Let us escape.
Yes.
Let us see.
Yes, good. Yes, prompt them, implement demand fading, so it's something that is easier and more approachable for them to complete. Like the example we looked at last week, let's say we requested for them to wipe down their table. Well, maybe wiping down the whole thing is just too much for them. So we just start off with requesting just one corner of the table and then gradually increase the demand as they demonstrate cooperation. Good. Which of the following is a temporal increase in the frequency, intensity, or duration of behavior when its extinction is first implemented? Yes.
Which of the following is temporary increase in the extinction burst?
Okay, extinction burst. So D.
D.
Anybody else think it's D?
D.
Yes, extinction burst. Keep in mind that spontaneous recovery is when it is prolonged. It happens after the extinction procedure is implemented. Okay, true or false for you? Response blocking is a type of extinction.
Response blocking.
Hearing a false. Everybody else seems to think it's.
Wait.
Okay, no worries. I think it's a.
Response blocking.
Yes, response blocking.
This will intervene to prevent.
Very important distinction we have to make between.
Yes.
Yes.
That is true. False.
False. Yes. Response blocking can be better thought of an antecedent approach. Whereas for extinction, we allow the consequence to occur, but it doesn't drive the reinforcement.
Yeah, it's antecedent.
Yes. Okay, when is it not appropriate to use extinction?
When the available mental extinction.
So when the client has been in the program for too long, behavior is maintained by tension, target behavior is dangerous, or the behavior is annoying. So this is when extinction as a treatment option is off the table.
The target behavior is dangerous to the client. Let us see.
Willie says C. Everybody else agree? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Behavior is too dangerous, leads to too much harm, the likelihood for the client or those around them. Yeah, not something we go for. All right, a few more, guys. The behavior was once eliminated, suddenly reappears after a period of time, even though the reinforcement is still being withheld. What is this?
A behavior that was eliminated suddenly reappears after a period of time, even though reinforcement is still being withheld. This is called negative increase, the person of reinforcement, spontaneous recovery.
Yeah, one of these we haven't even talked about yet. I heard C. Hearing A.
Suddenly reappears after a period of time, even though reinforcement is still being withheld.
Indeed, let's see, guys. It is C. Spontaneous recovery. Yeah, it's called spontaneous because it seems to happen completely out of the blue. Again, it's unexpected that a previously extinguished behavior all of a sudden shows up again at our doorstep. And again, it happens after a prolonged period of time. 2 more. What is the danger of being inconsistent, i.e. giving in, during an extinction burst? Is it that it makes the behavior easier to treat later, prevents the individual becoming aggressive, puts the behavior on intermittent schedule reinforcement, or it just simply has no effect on long-term behavior? Okay, I'm hearing whispers of C.
Louder.
Yes, it's all right. It's all right.
It puts
Paige is saying C. At least that's what I think I could hear you say. Okay. C? Alright. C. It is C. Yeah. Intermittent schedule. So it's almost so when they want to get the reinforcer, it's almost as though they're hitting the jackpot and on the lottery or the slot machine. Think of it that way. Last one, to make extinction more effective and ethical, it should always be paired with. Again, we're thinking ethically and effective. I heard B.
Yes.
B. You agree, Gloria?
B.
B. Yes. And we would be. we are going to talk about that approach on Wednesday with DRA, DRI, DRO, all the DRs. Any questions regarding extinction or anything in general? No?
John, any questions?
Yeah, because we have just a few minutes left. No? All right, guys. Well, I don't know what that's about, but okay. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Yes, of course.
Okay.